So I wanted to make another video about the importance of self-work, aka shadow work, in spell work and witch work. So let's talk about it. A lot of people beginning their witchcraft or spirituality journey, I get several questions over and over again. One of them is, how do I begin? Where do I start? You want to start with where you would start with learning anything. I mean, Googling is helpful. Don't trust everything you read in Google, just like with everything else, but begin, okay? I feel like with spiritual work and with specifically witchcraft, people need permission to begin. So I'm a fan of just being like, permission granted, begin. Because if there's something within you that is telling you that this is a thing for you and that you're interested in it and that it's something that you feel like you're called towards, that's all the permission that you need. A lot of gatekeeping happens in spiritual communities, and there's a lot of people afraid that maybe they don't have the right ancestry, or they don't have the right upbringing, or they have been told that they're not allowed to do spiritual things or whatever, and so they're kind of secretly waiting for permission. The only permission you need is that desire within you. I know that sounds pretty cliche, but it's really true, because we cannot want something that is not meant for us. Imagine that there are certain particles out in the universe, and there are all these particles that create different things, different energies, different experiences. I don't have any particles that like maybe someone who's interested in math would have, right? That's not something that I have. So I'm never going to be like, I really want to go like become a CPA, because like I don't have the math particles within me, so I'm not drawn to the things that represent the math particles externally to me. There's no part of me that is like drawn to that part of the world, because it doesn't exist within me. So therefore, anything that I'm interested in or anything that I want, I am meant to have that in my life, because it must exist within me in order for me to be drawn to it in the first place. It is that magnetic pull of like attracting like that drives what our interests are. And so when we restrict ourselves from being involved with or connecting to the things that speak to our soul, what we're doing is we're restricting our soul. We're restricting the things that are meant for us, because we have fear that says maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe it's not okay, or maybe I'm not supposed to do it, or maybe that's just for special people but not for me, or whatever. Newsflash, you're special. Newsflash, you're people. Like, you count too. And if you are interested in something, that is literally the only sign that you need that is telling you that it's meant for you, because we cannot be drawn to something unless it already exists within us. So if you're waiting for permission, if you're waiting for a sign, if you're waiting for like something to say to you, it's okay to explore my spirituality. It's okay to explore my inner witch. It's okay to explore my sexual orientation. It's okay to explore whatever it is. There's your sign. The fact that you want it means it belongs to you in some capacity. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be like, oh, okay. A lot of times we have to do so much self-work to allow ourselves to have the things that we want, because if it was easy, it would be easy, right? Like if it was easy, it would have already happened. So the self-work we have to do is the deprogramming of ourselves, that whatever part of it is within ourselves that tells us we can't or we shouldn't or we're not allowed to or whatever, that's the deconstructing work we have to do. That's why we're kept from it. It's not because we don't belong with it. It's because there's some preconditioning that tells us we don't belong within it. And that's the self-work. Okay? So if you want something, it is because you are meant for it. So beginner witches, you belong. You belong. Okay? If you're interested in it, you belong. Welcome. That said, where do we begin? Well, we begin by like Googling and going on Pinterest, if that's still a thing, if I'm not like too much of a millennial and like sound weird and old, but like Pinterest is helpful until it's not. Go on. This is like an old lady millennial thing for me to say, so sorry. Careful with TikTok, because there's a lot of misinformation over there. And I haven't had time to get over there to kind of like do my part in that, but just be careful with the research happening on TikTok. Okay, I like it because it's permissive. I like it because it's normalizing spiritual work. I like it because it's young. I like it because it's fun. Yes, but some of the information is a little questionable in my eyes. But that's just me. Maybe it's not questionable for you. Either way, start doing something, okay? Where do I begin? Just begin. Just do. Just do anything, okay? And I will always say, start with yourself. Now, this is also shadow work, right? This is also self-work. Now, if you listen to my podcast, please go look up my podcast. It's called Moonstone Witchery. It is on Apple, Spotify, and all other podcast streaming platforms. If you listen to my podcast, you know that one of the things I say constantly is witchcraft and self-work go hand in hand. I say it nicer than that, you know. Witchwork and self-work got to go together. The reason for this is because we have to know what we're doing in order to do it. Sounds super obvious, but it's definitely not, okay? Here's what I'm trying to say. If you're setting out to do a spell or set an intention out into the universe, okay, you must know what that intention is. You must know what you want the spell to do. That is self-work. Because sometimes we think we know what we're trying to do, but maybe we're not. Sometimes we think we want to throw a spell at someone to go ahead and teach them all about themselves. But guess what? If you're going to throw a spell to teach someone about themselves, you have to hold all of the energy called teaching you about yourself in your body in a super concentrated way to put it into that spell. So this is where the rule of 3 gets kind of messed with. But the point, the foundational point is if you're going to go ahead and hold all that energy in yourself, you please make sure it's energy that you want to hold within yourself. Okay? Self-work says, why am I doing this spell? What is it that I want? Why do I want it? What am I trying to achieve? Is this thing I'm doing going to achieve that result? This is where I have a problem with like the old school kind of like law of attraction work because they're focusing on the wrong thing. They're like, write yourself a check for $10 million and then visualize getting a check for $10 million and then you'll feel better. And I'm like, a check for $10 million doesn't necessarily make me feel better. I mean, okay, it does. It does. But they're like, cut out a picture of a BMW from a magazine and glue it to a piece of poster board and stick it to your wall. I don't know what that does. I mean, it's a nice car on my wall. But what really they're trying to say is, what is the feeling you would feel if you could have that car? And that is the actual question. That is what we're trying to anchor into when we are manifesting or when we are spellcasting or we are creating our reality. We're trying to anchor into an energy. Self-work helps us figure out what that energy is. Self-work begins when we decide we're going to stop being reactive and we're going to start being proactive. Man, that's good. Somebody write that down. Somebody write that down, quote it somewhere, put it up, tag me on it, because that was a good quote. Self-work begins when we stop being reactive and we start being proactive. What does that mean? It means I can either walk into a room and let everyone in that room determine how my mood is going to be or what I'm going to feel right then, or I can walk into a room and say, hello, lovely people. Here's me and my pretty energy. Come join me. And then I'm proactively determining my life. Are we good? Can we go home now? Done? We're done? It's just that easy. But for real, it is just that easy, but it's also like impossibly hard. Because what you're going to do is you're going to say, I am no longer going to be on autopilot. I'm no longer just going to react to things because I've always reacted to things or because my mama always reacts like that. No, I want to be in charge of my life. That's what witchwork's about. Witchwork is about knowing that you are able to influence your reality, and then it's you saying, cool, what kind of reality do I want to create for myself then? Now, if we do that unchecked, guess what? If you create your reality unchecked without doing your self-work, what kind of reality do you think you're going to have? I'll tell you. You're going to have the exact reality that you have right now. So all the things that aren't working for you right now are going to continue to not work for you. All the things that are working for you right now are going to keep working for you, so that's good. Good job on that. But all the things that aren't working for you right now, that's what happens when you're showing up unchecked to your reality. Because you, in places in your life, are reacting rather than you setting the tone of your world. Okay? We don't want to react. We want to proact. We want to initiate the sequence of events that tell us, like, this is what my world is going to be. And when we want to do that, we're always trying to come from a place of being centered. We're trying to come from a place of being right with ourselves. We're trying to come from a place of like intentionally choosing our purpose, of intentionally choosing the energy, of intentionally choosing all of it. And we can only intentionally choose that stuff if we intentionally choose it, which means getting off of autopilot, saying things to ourselves like, why am I flipping out about this right now though? But for real, a lot of the times, I gotta tell you a secret, a lot of the times we're flipping out about things because someone in our past taught us to flip out about that thing, but maybe we don't actually even care about it. There is a lot of times that we are hard anchored into something that we actually probably don't know that we care that much about. But we haven't stopped and asked ourselves that question, and we haven't revisited with ourselves, do I actually care enough about this to make this such a thing? Or can I be different? Can I respond differently? Can I show up differently? Can I seek to make kindness or compassion or empathy my predominant like energy? And so another piece of self-work is like, how do I want my life to feel? That's the question we should have said instead of putting a BMW on our wall. Are BMWs even good cars anymore? But my point is like, ask yourself, what do I want my life to be like? Not what kind of car or house or bank account do I want to have. That comes later. How do I want to feel inside of my life? And then your job is to anchor way into that and always choose the thing that aligns with that. For me, my words are things like compassion, open, loving, connected, seeing someone else's point of view. I want to have a real experience with a person. So I seek to communicate. I seek to understand somebody. I seek to meet people halfway. That's me. Those are my answers. What are your answers? What do you want your life to feel like? And then anything that takes you out of your peace or away from that answer or away from that energy being the predominant energy you're swimming in all day, that's where your self-work is. That's where your shadow work is. That's what shadow work is. Shadow work is literally saying, how am I complicit in all of my own problems? You can write that down too. That was a good one too. Shadow work, seriously. How am I responsible for all of my own problems? And this isn't to say that, like, if you've had some tragic thing happen to you that it's your fault. It is not your fault. If you have been victimized, abused, had any kind of, like, anything terrible happen to you, that's not your fault, okay? I'm talking about in my interactions with day-to-day people, if I get really messed up by the cashier at the gas station being super rude to me and it ruins my day, what's my part in that? Because am I trying to let someone have that much influence over me? Or am I trying to be like, oh, I hope you have a better day, or whatever, okay? Me using my values of connection and empathy and compassion, when I see someone in a mood, I'll literally be like, seems like you're having a real busy day here. And then they get to vent to me, and I don't take it on because I know it's not mine. And then I go, oh my God, I totally get that. I hate days like that. And then I go, I hope you have a really good day. And then I invited them into my point of view, and maybe I made it nicer for them, and maybe I didn't. But either way, I didn't get messed up. That was me using good language. I didn't get messed up by them and their day, and instead I invited them to have an opportunity to have something positive happen. And whether they took it or not is on them. I don't care. Not up to me. But this is me intentionally being proactive, showing up to my life on purpose, rather than having life happen to me and then I'm out of control all the time. So put this into context for witch work. Why am I doing this spell? What is my intended result? Does that intended result match the energy that I want my life to have? Does that BMW feel like freedom and self-worth? Because if it does, you can have it. But if it doesn't, then you're asking for the wrong thing. And we got to get really clear about what we're asking for. And that's the self-work. And that's the place for you to say and to have an honest conversation with yourself, what am I trying to create or shift or do with the energy of my life? And how can I be in alignment with what I'm trying to do? Does this spell create that result? And ask yourself, deep dive into those questions. And then always see if there's some kind of work you can do on yourself to enhance your own life experience, because it's your job to make sure that you are in the best place possible for yourself. I hope that this is helpful. This is just a beginning step, little mini guide on what shadow work even is and how to kind of start doing it. Ask me any questions and comments. And if you can, please give me a subscribe. I would appreciate it. Thank you.